This recording is a collection of hilarious radio and television bloopers. These unintended indiscretions heard over the airwaves are from Kermit Schafer's famous collection of radio and television bloopers. This album is dedicated to the members of the radio and television industry who have been the victims of these classic boners.
In an earlier blooper recording, you heard the classic introduction of Herbert Hoover as Hubert Heaver. Let's listen to this classic introduction of another president, Gerald Ford.
President Gerald Ford with the DAR gathering in Washington today.
The leader of the DAR.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, President General Smith.
Audience participation programs, such as game shows, often result in unpredictable answers to questions from nervous contestants.
Before he goes to bed...
The first thing he does, the very first thing he does before he goes to bed, right?
We make love and then we go to sleep to go to bed. We do it in the bed, but then we go to sleep.
I think what I should do is perhaps repeat the question. Now, you stay out of it, Judge. I don't need you right now. I got enough problems. This is the first thing he does before he goes to bed.
To go to sleep?
You mean he goes to sleep before he goes to bed?
No, we make love and then go to bed.
Yeah, I know that.
It's a ritual.
Yeah, right. It's a heck of a ritual. This is the Look, I have a hard job, Judge. So this is before he goes to bed, right? Forget about all the other stuff. This is before the first thing he does before he goes to bed.
Well, once he gets in bed...
No, I don't want to know about that. I want to know before he gets in bed.
He looks at me.
Thank you. Brad, the first thing you do before you go to bed. Yourself.
I can't say that, so I guess...
Before you go to bed.
Well, I open the shower door, and then I take a shower.
What's the first thing you do? Open the shower door or take a shower?
Take a shower.
Oh, you take a shower before you open the door. I see. All right. Seriously, the first thing you do is you look at your wife.
But...
Brian?
The first thing I do before I go to bed is usually urinate.
The Brewers beat the Angels 1-0. Frank Tanana threw a two-hitter for the losers, but Jim Colburn and Ed Rodriguez combined for the three-hit shutout by the Brewers. That's it on the Sports Line.
Due to the unpredictable nature of the weather, performers often get tripped up. As evidence, this weather forecaster, aided and abetted by network radio personality Cedric Adams and his uncontrollable sense of humor.
The Weather Bureau radar indicates scattered light snow in the same location as at 5 a.m. Therefore, please continue to use the summary which you threw in the wastebasket. You should have taken. Wait a minute, I got it. I got it.
Had it in our little round file here.
Wait, the radar right now shows a scattered to broken area of rain showers. So a few showers flitting around. Sioux Falls right now reports light rain showers. rain showers in 64. You're on light drizzle and 60. That was a legitimate mistake. Fargo, light rain, 58. A few, what was I going to say? A few showers flitting around. Is that what it was?
Should this have been realized, China need not develop the nuclear weapon. But this position of ours has met the stubborn resistance of the U.S. imperialists. What is your reaction to that statement, sir?
First of all, by the Chinese government, you mean the Chinese communists. As you know, we don't recognize the Chinese communists as the government of China. As to what you think my reaction is to that statement, I would say that I forgot what your question was.
Newsmen who read wire service copy without checking it in advance very often broadcast some very amusing unintended news items, such as the following.
Winston Churchill has celebrated his 84th birthday. He ate a 30-pound birthday cake along with his children and his grandchildren.
This is John Cameron Swayze in the ABC Radio Network newsroom in New York. From September 15th on, CRAM listeners will get the full benefit of the ABC Radio Network's worldwide news thank you very much. Son of a bitch.
Open mics can be dangerous. Let's listen to this classic example when a newsman didn't realize he was on the air.
NBC News special report today in Washington.
Bothered the heck out of me. I went out this morning and mowed the goddamn lawn. Came in about 2 o'clock.
It's Anaheim, and we're at the Barnum Brothers, Ringling Brothers Greater Circus.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Welcome to Anaheim and the opening night of the Barnum Brothers. Now, wait a minute, let's read it. Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. Here we are in Anaheim at the opening night of Ringling Brothers, Barnum Bailey's. Could you do that one? This is Bob Wells, ladies and gentlemen, the ringmaster for the Ringling.
Overseas in the Congo this morning, all attention is turned toward the United Nations and the appearance there of President Casa. But strongman Colonel Joseph Mobutu is himself making a show of force, as reported now by ABC correspondent Joseph Kazabubu.
Girls, now it's your turn to predict how they will answer some 10-point questions. So, ladies, here's your first question. Girls, will your husband say he is basically more urban or rural? Corey?
Definitely rural.
Rural. Kathy, now, will your husband say he's basically more urban or rural?
I don't know what they mean.
Well, you know him. I mean, you married him. What do you think?
Heck, he's urban.
He's urban.
Yeah.
How long has he been that way?
For about 2 months.
2 months he's been there. Do you think there's anything he can do about it?
He went to a doctor.
Oh, he did? Did the doctor give him anything for his urban?
He gave me something.
Well, we were down to the 5-yard line. Our action momentarily interrupted. Many different kinds of animals have interrupted football games, but perhaps none so unusual as this one. It's a big hippity-hop rabbit jacking off down the field.
It seems the majority of the people are confused over Proposition 14. If you're one of those, we advise that you read up on the initiative before going to the poll in November. Remember, if you're for the initiative, you're against the Rumford Fair Housing Bill. If you're against the initiative, you're for the Rumford Fair Housing Bill. Now, we'll try that again. If you're against the initiative, you're against the... If you're for the initiative... If you're for the initiative, you're against... we'll try that again. If you're against the initiative, you're against the... If you're for the initiative, you're against the initiative.
One of the great prize fighters of yesteryear had a difficult name to pronounce, Paolino Unskadam. However, sportscaster Chris Shenkel came up with this pronunciation.
The only Basque ever known in this country was an iron-chinned heavyweight named Paolino Uzkundam, who managed to go 12 rounds with Joe Louis.
Now, rock and roll fans, here's a new record by Gladys Knight and the Pimps. Pips.
Now stand by for the running of the exciting annual race car event, the Grand Prix. Grand P. However the hell you pronounce it. I'll give you the spelling, you take your choice. Grand Prix.
The great Groucho Marx, known for his sharp wit, ad-libbed the following when he asked the contestant why he had 12 children.
Why do you have so many children?
Because I like my wife.
I like my cigar, too, but I take it out sometimes.
There are many unforeseen conditions which can interrupt broadcast transmissions. However, none can be more devastating and confusing than a strike by broadcast technicians.
NBC Radio, News on the Hour, brought to you by Cools, America's most refreshing cigarette. The cigarette with mild menthol for that clean, cool taste. Now here is Frank Burkholzer, NBC News.
NBC management announces that an unauthorized strike against radio and television networks continue, but normal programming is being maintained by supervisory personnel. President Eisenhower has vetoed a bill which would have taken away from the Secretary of Agriculture his power over REA loans. He said it was a major retreat from sound administrative policy.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if a performer should sneeze while on the air? Listen to this example.
It is a total war, a war on the economic, the social, and the political front.
It's quite all right. I'll take this out. Just clear your throat.
No, well, I had to sneeze.
Reliable network newscaster John Scalli was the victim of this blooper.
Colonel Olds, you've pioneered the use of these planes over North Korea at night. What sort of operation is this? Is it new?
Well, John, it's a new war. It's not North Korea now. It's North Vietnam.
Let's turn back the clock to listen to this classic moment when the legendary Al Jolson was the guest on the Bing Crosby Kraft Music Hall.
Going back to the good old days with you, Bing, you know, I could go on like this all night.
Thanks, Al, but I'm afraid we'll have to take a breather.
Well, don't tell me you're tired, sonny boy.
Not that, Al, but along about here in the show, we get a commercial. You got to remind the folks that we've got a Philco or so available.
Why, Bing, why don't we sing that old commercial?
Well, I'm willing to take a chance on it if you are.
Well, let's go. Can we have a little music, John Scott?
You'll make friends of every stranger
with a Philco record changer.
From the table size
to those that weigh a ton.
Or to make your life ecstatic,
we can't be too emphatic.
Get that brand new automatic
1201. Take it.
Yes. F is for fashion, fidelity, or fame.
F is for fabulous, as you know.
Oh, man, we're cooked. We're cooked, Al.
A report from France tells of a man who threw everything in his apartment out the second-story window. A big crowd stood around watching, not because of what he was doing, not because of what he was wearing, because he was naked, but because he was singing the Marseillaise. And everyone stands around when the French national anthem is played. That's the news, ABC New York.
When a performer bloops a line, it's one thing, but when the important message in a commercial is fouled up, it can have serious consequences for the sponsor.
So remember, girls, hidden magic shampoo puts hair on your body. Oh, that should be, body in your hair.
Roger. -30. Carrying log, thanks.
And the tension is building at NASA headquarters. Astronaut Alan Sheppard is now going over his chick list before launching.
One of the problems facing broadcasters is double meaning. Let's listen to this classic example.
Okay, couple number 3, what Beatles song reminds you of your wedding night?
It's been a hard day's night.
It's raining again. It appears just a matter of minutes before play will be called because of the weather. As the Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher stands on the mound, you can barely see the PP on his muddy uniform.
The telephone companies furnish telephone facilities to broadcasters with the result that broadcast stations sometimes get their wires crossed.
Her eyes are beautiful, beautiful.
The Catholic Hour, now in its 25th year, presents the Reverend John Schultz of the Redemptorist Order in the second of a series of transcribed programs entitled
And your eyes
Suffer Little
too
Ones
can
to
be
Come Unto
beautiful
Me.
when you use Maybelline.
Father Schultz, who is
It's so
well known by
easy.
audiences
Start with
throughout the country
Maybelline's
for
new
his fine
automatic eyebrow
lectures,
pencil.
has
Use
devoted
short,
a series to
feathery
the children of
strokes.
America
Accent
and their
the
parents.
natural line of your brow.
Bob Burns, a popular comedian in the early days of radio, was known for his sharp wit and for playing the bazooka, his own musical creation. He became the innocent victim of a tongue twister when he was a guest on a nationwide radio show.
Now, I'm going to play a little number that I wrote myself. I'm going to play it on my guitar and sing it to you. It's called the Raccoon Hunt. Raccoon Hunt. I'm going to... They cut... I think you ought to know they recut these things anyhow. Oh, you're so nice. I'm glad that didn't happen on my show. That certainly would give the Lever brothers something to fight over. I'm not going to go on anymore, but you're awfully nice about it. Thank you very much. I'm going to sing this little number. It's called the Raccoon Hunt. Now then, this is about a time my Pa and I went coon hunting down in Arkansas, and just don't blame anybody else. I'm doing it all myself.
Nevertheless, this is true. At harness tracks, they prevent the appearance of so-called ringers by checking the nuts of the entrance. Chestnuts are the slatish gray wart-like formations on the insides of the knees on all four legs of a horse. Now, they're never the same on any two animals.
Good evening. Here are tonight's headlines. Nixon gets stoned on trip.
Many unpredictable moments occur in live broadcasting. As a result, announcers have to think quickly. We take you to ringside of a wrestling match for this example.
Get the hell off me, you sweaty son of a bitch. Please watch your language here, sir. We're doing a live radio broadcast.
we take you to England, where a live cooking show is in progress.
Okay, here's a recipe that I think your whole family will like. It's very simple if you listen carefully. First you take 2 eggs, half a pint of milk, a little salt. You mix the whole thing together and tip into a well-greased bedpan. Oh, sorry about that. I mean bread pan.
Lawrence Welk, one of television's best-known performers, sometimes has a problem with the English language. Let's listen to how this musical introduction sounded.
And now the orchestra and the boys and girls are going together to do a medley of songs from A World War I.
Well, I think the temperature is dropping. While this record's playing, I'll go take a leak at the thermometer.
Station promos are the terms used to describe program advertising. However, they often become long-winded, as evidence this promo for Long Journey.
Lone Journey, heard every weekday morning on ABC, unveils the heartbreak of 3 lonely people. It's a lone journey for Sidney McKenzie because she's married to Lansing and in love with Wolf. Will Sidney regret her decision to stick by her husband at all costs? She and Lansing have been marooned in Wolf's ranch house by a raging snowstorm. Sidney has pneumonia, Lansing a broken arm. Both need care that Wolf is willing to give, but which Lansing resents because of his seething jealousy of the man who was once married to his wife. But Lansing's jealousy has jumped the bounds of common sense. He struck Wolf in an unreasonable rage. He tried to burn the penicillin intended for Sidney because Wolf was going to administer it. In striking out at Wolf, will Lansing destroy what he's trying so desperately to keep, Sidney's love? Hear Lone Journey over ABC today. Pauline Frederick is heard Monday at this time. This program came from New York. This is the American Broadcasting Company.
Broadcasts which deal with remotes which originate from several locations very often result in problems over which the program has no control.
Terrific race. The weather was clear, and the people gave quite an ovation to Buddy Werner when he came in his last effort to unseat the champion.
Where's my clothes?
What?
Where the hell is the clothes? Will you identify yourself and say, and now back to Monitor and Radio Central?
All right. Ready? This is Kit Carson White, the ski reporter from San Francisco. I'd like to return you back to Monitor and San Francisco.
Look, Kid, did you say this? Your name is Kit Carson White?
Yes.
Would you please say, this is Kit Carson White in Squaw Valley, now back to Monitor and Radio Central?
All right. This is Kit Carson White from Squaw Valley. Now back to Radio Monitor.
Let's try it again. It's Monitor and Radio Central.
Monitoring in Radio Central. All right. This is Kit Carson White from Squaw Valley. And now back to Radio Monitor in Central.
Kid, let's try it slow this time, huh?
Well, let me write it down. There's some people coming in.
It's Monitor and Radio Central.
Monitoring Radio Central. All right. This is Kit Carson White from Squaw Valley. And now back to Radio Monitor in Central.
Let's tune in an early Bob Hope radio show when he became a victim of this unintended blooper.
I bet you were frightfully upset.
Not old Rob. Not me. I just cooked my cocktail. Cop my pinky. I say before. You mean? No. I'd like to get a fresh start on the whole day.
Live telephone interviews have become a source of program entertainment, with the result that the unpredictable often occurs.
Hello?
Hello?
You know who this is?
Oh, hello there.
How are you?
Okay.
I've been lying here in bed lately wondering what you look like.
All right.
And I've come to the conclusion, I would say that you're about 6 feet tall, 155 pounds.
Yeah, true, so far.
Light brown hair. Am I right so far?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You are very erect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is, you stand very erect. I would think you have a fairish complexion.
Fair.
I think it would be great if we could see you exposed. I mean, in public.
Well, I'm going up to the nudist colony Sunday.
The clock on the wall and the need to close programs on time very often puts extra pressure on announcers, which very often results in a blooper such as the following.
You could also win a beautiful riding mower with optional ass scratcher, a grass scratcher. Carl Smith, 83, a lifetime resident of this city, passed away at his home Tuesday night. Funeral services for Mr. Smith will be held in the chapel of the First Methodist Church. Entertainment will follow in the cemetery. Excuse me, that should have been internment.
It has been said that out of the mouths of babes oft time comes gems. Let's listen to Strike It Rich for this classic example.
And Tony, what are you going to do with the $10?
I'm going to take the money and buy my mommy and daddy a pair of pajamas because when they go to bed, they don't have any on.
And from London, we learn that Beatle Ringo Starr is in hospital for an operation on his tonsils.
We were never able to learn if this sportscaster committed a Freudian slip.
That rounds up all the games tonight in the National Basketball League, and now on the scoreboard in the National Honky League.
Veteran newscaster Lowell Thomas is known for his uncontrollable sense of humor. His breakups when something strikes him funny have become legendary in broadcasting.
Lowell Thomas and the news. Paul, have you a few more unforgettable words?
About a new book called Diet or Die. Author, Mrs. Celesta Geyer, perhaps better known to millions of carnival fans as the one-time Dolly Dimples. Remember, the world's most beautiful fat lady? That was the billing Mrs. Geyer used when she weighed 555 pounds, now a svelte 122. She tells in her book how she did it, following the advice of a doctor who told her after a near-fatal heart attack to diet or die. The secret of effective weight loss, massive willpower, says Mrs. Geyer, adding that her own willpower was strengthened by the memory. Well, anyhow, she said that her fat friends from carnival life died at an early age, later buried from the back of a truck. Those her own words. Why truck? Because, said Mrs. Geyer, they were too big for a hearse. Oh, gosh.
Oh. And so long until Monday, Lowell. Listen each evening, Monday through Friday at this same time, for the distinctive news reports of Lowell Thomas.
Now, you already know the fine entertainment they have there, but I want to tell you of a spectacular they're having on this coming Friday night. For the first time in history, I repeat, for the first time in history, see a man rape a horse. For the first time in history, see a man race a porpoise. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Now, what do you find on pool tables that you find in men's trousers?
Balls.
Well, actually, we were thinking of pockets.
Musical performers very often bloop the lyrics of a song with unfortunate results. But some performers have the gift of improvisation, which can turn disaster into entertainment.
Welcome to the Mike Douglas Show. Now, here's the star of our show, Mike Douglas.
When all the songs are out of tune and all the rhymes ring so untrue, when I don't find the words to say the thoughts I long to bring to you, when I hear lonely singers who are just as lost as me, making noise, not melody, you will be my music. You will be my song. You will be my music. I can't wait any longer if I'm wrong. And I have blown the song, so I'll start the whole thing again, 'cause I sang it all completely wrong. The audience doesn't know the difference. They think I'm perfect all the way. Some have come as far as Florida. They're from Kansas and from Texas, all around. I've written them a song that is a hit, and they think I'm great.
They don't want anybody who's perfect. You don't want somebody who's perfect, who doesn't make a mistake. Am I right? Right? Just like you. That's why they put erasers on the pencils.
In Stockholm, doctors have removed a toothbrush from the stomach of a woman. It had been there for 16 years. How did the toothbrush get in her stomach? Well, the lady says back in 1952 she had a bad case of stomach upset and she tried to use the toothbrush to relieve it. Then she hicked when she should have cupped, and that toothbrush has been in her stomach for 16 years. That's the news.
Politicians are prone to making bloopers. Let's listen to Senator Barry Goldwater for this example.
I know of no American who wants to be a rich slave. I know Americans would rather be poor and slave. Poor and free, I should say.
A single-engine Navy fighter collided with what apparently was a buzzard. The pilot was forced to eject. He parachuted to safety. Navy authorities at Jacksonville, I can't see this plane hitting the buzzard. A fantastic story at Dunellen, Florida today when a single-engine Navy fighter on a routine... The Navy authorities at Jacksonville say Lieutenant Theodore Schwartz...
Our show will continue after these words from our first sponsor, Sunsweet Prune Juice. Well, we're off and running.
Milton Cross has been known as the Dean of Announcers. His broadcasts from the Metropolitan Opera House in New York have been heard worldwide.
And now the house lights are dimming. A hush falls over the expectorant audience as our maestro, the well-known American conductor, makes his way to the podium.
GOP House Leader Gerald Ford of Michigan has called for a constitutional amendment to do away with the Electoral College. Electoral College.
Sportscaster Bill Stern is listed in the Hall of Fame of Broadcasting. Let's listen to one of his memorable moments when he blooped the following.
Imagine, the hatch of a great rocket ship swings open. A man steps out. Rocket ship.
Good evening, Bill Stern. Tonight's story in a moment. If you suffer from dry skin, you'll find welcome relief in a Sardo bath. Just 1 capful of Sardo in your tub bathes away dry skin, makes every inch of your soot. I said makes every inch of your soot.
I'm glad you were able to make our broadcast. We were just beginning to get a little worried as to whether you would arrive in time.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late because I went to see my Uncle Jack off on the Queen Mary.
Newsmen who originate their newscast from the battlefield are very often frustrated by the sounds of battle.
The cavalry's new operation area is sparsely populated by Vietnamese civilians and heavily infiltrated by North Vietnamese. It's the type of situation that allows the cavalry to bring their full firepower to bear against the goddamn son of a bitch.
And now, back to Walter O'Keefe and his next contestant on Double or Nothing.
I'd rather see you win here today than anybody else up here, I swear.
I'd like to win.
You're not married?
No.
Where's your family from? Where's your dad from?
Well, my dad is from northern Michigan. He's a casket maker.
A casket maker?
Right.
Oh, Anna, tell me, have you had any unusual experiences in your work as a waitress?
Oh, I've had several.
For instance, anything that we could do with a daytime audience? You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
All right, what?
One is, yesterday I ran into, I'd hate to embarrass the man that's in the audience,
Yeah.
but he asked me a question that I didn't know how to answer, but
Yeah.
he asked me, he said his friend went to the doctor and he was very sick. And
Yeah.
he says, I didn't know what to do, and he says, I don't know what to tell him, do you?
Mm-hmm.
So, right away I says, yes, maybe I can, I don't know.
Yeah.
I says, what the trouble was? He says, well, he can't go out nights, he can't eat, can't do nothing.
Poor guy.
And he said, he had to send his wife away on a vacation. He said, so what do you think we should do with it? Well, me, I didn't know what to answer there, so I said, well, I don't know. What's your suggestion? He said, well, I think you should get a good-looking girl like you and take her home and just have a big screwing party. I said, what?
Now,
I said, why not go down to the hardware and get a screw?
Anna, why don't we go on with the questions we have here?
The U.S. Army enlisted man in a communist ambush 50 miles north of Saigon. This American was riding back to camp with 4 Vietnamese soldiers. They'd been helping villagers clear lands for crops.
Silver Lovin' ladies, why is new Tarnish Yield Silver Tarnish Preventive and Cleaner like a 3-for-1 sale? Oh, yes.
Technical difficulties play havoc with network news shows, especially when they are aired live. Let's listen to newsman Frank Blair for this classic example.
Lieutenant General Nguyen Van Tu, Chief of State and military candidate for president, finally showed up at a rally with the civilian candidates. That story from Charles Murphy in South Vietnam. We'll get that story from Charles, not quite ready yet. In the meantime, at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, the 6th annual meeting of the Midwestern Governors Conference opens today. For a report, here is Don Oliver at the conference. Well, we'll have that report a little later, too. This story, I'm sure I can handle myself. The so-called Torch of Peace is moving slowly across the continent from San Francisco this morning in the hands of a relay of runners. It is a peace campaign of a new kind. That story from John Dancy in San Francisco. You're kidding. Well, we'll have that story a little later on. I hope we find time for all of these things. There's news from the Italian town of Caramanico Terme today that will surprise no one. Some people are genuinely allergic to work. According to a report submitted to a conference on allergies, muscular activity on the part of those afflicted by work releases an extra amount of histamine, a stimulant that causes rashes and allergies. With a newscast like that, I'm getting more allergic every minute. Are we going to try for some of these stories now? We're ready. Over the weekend, as we told you, Lieutenant General Van Tu, who is one of the presidential candidates in South Vietnam, finally started some campaigning with the civilians. And here's that story now from Charles Murphy in South Vietnam. What page do you want, Larry?
Do the weather.
Do the weather. Okay. Probably won't get the weather map this time. No. We do have difficulties once in a while like that because of the nature of this program. We switch around to several different parts of the country, and sometimes it works very well. Other times we have our difficulties, and we're having them this morning.
More details on the automobile accident in which a woman driver lost control of her car on a curve, crashed through the guardrail, and rolled down a steep embankment. She was understandably shaken by this experience. As she reached the highway, she collapsed.
All this comes from your little homemaker's helper here, Howie Viken, the people's Peter pleaser, the Peter's people pleaser.
Mrs. Pruitt from Texas, excuse me a moment, ma'am, while I make contact with Mrs. Louise Jacobs in Detroit, Michigan. Hello, Mrs. Louise Jacobs.
Hello there.
How are you, Louise?
Fine, thank you.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, Louise. How's everything in the Motor City?
Oh, everything's all right.
Good. Does your husband work in the automobile industry?
He's working in a machine shop.
He does? And what does he do in the machine shop?
He's a tool maker.
How long have you folks been married?
32 years.
32 years?
Yes.
That's a mighty, mighty long time. Do you have any children?
9.
9? Ma'am, your husband's not a tool maker. He's a producer. Congratulations. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how did you meet your husband?
I met him at the box social.
At a box social?
Yes.
What sort of a box social?
Oh, church box.
Oh, you mean where everybody brings box lunches?
Yes.
And then they bid. That's an real old-fashioned custom. The girl brings the box and the man bids on it. Is that the idea?
Yes.
And what did he pay for your little package that you brought? You know, I could lose a sponsor for us right now, you know that. Well, I bet you had a good time anyway. Well, it's been awfully nice speaking to you, Mrs. Jacobs. They're in Detroit, Michigan.
This message was brought to you by the Upper Midwest Council for Better Vision. Better Vision.
The following is a classic example of the ingenuity of the fast-thinking quizmaster.
No, sir, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Well, now, wait a minute. You've been asking us to spell words. How about you spelling one for us?
Be glad if I can. What's the word?
Spell gonorrhea.
Gondolier. 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 Thank you very much, sir.
Sit out their penalty time in the dressing room and get a jump on the other guys getting into the shower.
The Watergate hearings filled the airwaves with months of testimony, with the result that bloopers such as the following occurred.
Do you expect us to believe that you and John Ehrlichman, two of President Nixon's closet advisors, told him nothing about this plan, sir?
Well, the only thing I can think of is a while back I had a rubber spider, and I put it in the shower.
You put a rubber spider in the shower?
She hates spiders.
What happened?
She came running back out.
This was before we were married.
Clock showing only 10 seconds to go, and now Orr catches the puck and rams it in between the goalie's legs and scores. Goalie.
Service will be cut back by about 25% due to the shortage of diesel flu.
The copy in a commercial does not always run well with the title of a motion picture.
This portion of our late movie, The Running Man, starring Lawrence Harvey and Lee Remick, is brought to you tonight by X-Lax.
In this day and age of initial-oriented organizations, there has often been confusion between the NCAA football and an organization representing blacks.
Good afternoon, football fans. This is another Saturday's football game between the University of Alabama and the University of Mississippi, which was brought to you under the auspices of the NAACP. That'll be the day. Under the auspices of NCAA college football in color.
You've been listening to the latest news and comment from ABC Radio.
Secretary Udall says you can find Naples in New Orleans, the hills of Rome in San Francisco, more Rembrandts in New York than Amsterdam, and more Italian art at the National Gallery in Washington than you'll find in any city in Italy.
One thing that a performer must remember is to be sure his microphone is not open when he makes off-the-cuff remarks.
This is Total Information News. Bob Johnson reporting. $35,000 was stolen from the First National Bank and Trust Company on East Colonial. Total Information News has learned from tellers at the scene that 3 men demanded money be put into the cosmetic case. I'm glad I don't keep my money there.
And now, Virginia Graham answers her mail.
Today's letter is from Miss C.S. And Mrs. C.S. has a problem with her husband. He hasn't been coming home at night and giving her the marital devotion that she feels is necessary. She has lived with him for several years, and she feels that this is an indication of perhaps a sterility or a desire to have love. Now listen, Mike Wallace, you have been doing this too long. I have got to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, that he's an impossible person and has been making me laugh on the air, and I have promised that I wouldn't do it anymore.
Virginia,
so
dear,
yes,
I'll take care of it. We're going to take a cutaway now, and then we'll come back in just a moment.
No, I will continue. And I'll continue talking. Now, I'm very sorry. I think maybe we ought to go to music, and I'll come back and I'll do my spot later.
Giant US B-52 bombers early today struck at a major... Hold it a minute, please. We're getting right off. We've got a power shortage. What the hell is this?
Beautiful Raquel Welch is shown on the set in Miami Beach, where she is filming The Lady in Cement. Miss Welch has improved her stature as an actress and box office attraction. She has won the Interstate Theater Star of the 60s Award and the International Star of the Year from Cinerama and Pacific Theaters. Miss Welch is the proud owner of 2 really big ones.
Fire headquarters in Brooklyn?
Hello, this is WCBS News calling. Is there someone we can speak to for information on that 2-alarm fire?
Yes, ma'am. I can give you all the info you want.
All right, sir. Suppose you give me your name first so I can identify you.
My number is 55.
No, your name, sir? Can I...
I don't have no name.
Let's get back to the music part of the program. Here's one by Miss Eartha Kitt. God's sakes.
No, I think that the climax of the play occurred when the stars decided to marry.
Oh, I disagree. It occurred earlier, and the marriage was really anticlimactic. Don't think that I mean that marriage is an anticlimax. There are many climaxes in marriage. I am sure that you all know what I mean.
Everyone has experienced the giggles at one time or another. However, when performers become the victims of giggles on the air, it can result in hysteria.
Right now, your animal health supplier is giving away free a special introductory size can of Pfizer Uddertone. Well, with each 12-tube carton of terramycin for mastitis that you buy, you get this special introductory size can of Pfizer Uddertone. Here we go. Oh, my goodness. Terramycin, now let's get serious, of course, is the mastitis treatment that you now you
want me to read that for you?
Now listen, I'm going to make it. I've got all day down here, and say, help me, I'm going to... Terramycin gives faster, more thorough udder coverage than any other broad-range treatment can because of its unique all-liquid formula. And I thought I had it there for a minute.
You think I ought to do it?
No, I'm going to make it. I'm halfway through. And you'll find Pfizer Uddertone just great for soothing...
Why don't we come back to it?
No, listen, if I give up, I'll never make it. I'm going to face this thing right now because it'll be hanging over me all day.
So, ladies, when you are thinking of an all-season thirst quencher, treat your family to a drink that's a delight, winter or summer. Instant white rose, hot or cold, orange Tico P.
Let's listen to this announcer's blooper during the presentation of the long-running dramatic series, The Edge of Night.
We will return to The Urge of Night in a moment.
And here's one for the Guinness Book of Records. A local basketball fan trying to set a record spent 14 hours straight dribbling on the floor of his apartment. It could bring him fame and fortune, but it seems like a lot of time to spend playing with yourself. And that's the news.
Let's tune in on this political broadcast where candidates were seeking supporters. And today, in their never-ending search for support, 9 Democratic presidential candidates exposed themselves in Washington, D.C. before the Democratic governors.
The organist here at Anaheim Stadium has a most unusual name. Shea Torrent. Isn't that right, Herb?
Yeah, I think that's it. Shea Torrent, yes.
Line foul passed first. A high inside fastball.
He's got one of the best organs, too, Scotty. Boy, it's a peach.
It's Arthur Godfrey time. And now here's that man himself, Arthur Godfrey.
Now, you folks who saw the first half of our show had the pleasure of watching a group of talented young people from Holland, Michigan. They call them the Klompen dancers. Klompen, I'm told. I'm told, is the Dutch wold. The Dutch word for wooden shoes.
Chester's Restaurant in the Market Street Arcade specializes in tasty food served quickly and attractively. So for a change of pace lunch, stop by Chester's Restaurant, where this week's special is a chilled grease sandwich and a choke.
Son of a bitch.
What do you say about Roosevelt that hasn't been said already? He was a legend practically in his own time. The New Deal, the Supreme Court, the jaunty way that he held his cigarette lighter in his mouth.
A spoonerism is an unintended interchange of syllables. Let's listen to this classic example.
Our next model is showing the latest thing in hot pants. This controversial fashion follows the mini and the maxi. You will notice that this hot pants outfit can also be worn as a two-place pea suit.
Here is Lowell Thomas in another one of his classic breakups.
Lowell Thomas and the news.
Problems up there in space? Oh, yes. Head colds for all three. Also a cabin full of crumbs and water puddles. Not to mention a lack of sleep, but everything considered, they reported still go for 11. Well, let's get back to Earth.
Most of the bowlers bring along their wives for caddies. They like to carry their husbands' balls from lane to lane.
Well, today I'd like to tell you about a box, about a very special kind of box. Perhaps you own such a box yourself, and in it may be the same curious assortment of treasures. Now, if the owner of the box I have in mind were to tell you about it, she would say something like this. Years ago, when John and I were first married, we bought ourselves what was called in those days a strong box. The first things we put in it were our marriage certificate and a few securities. But as time passed... You want to take it? But as time passed, many kinds of things found their way into the box. There was the orchid carefully pressed that John gave me on our first anniversary. There was a lock of our baby's hair, packs of love letters, a service medal, a Purple Heart. And among these things, the most meaningful treasure of all was John's Prudential life insurance. And friends, the Prudential makes it easier for a man to be foresighted. You see, he doesn't have to depend on time and long, slow effort to create security for his family. Can you think of a safer, surer, more convenient way to protect your family?
How does it feel to be married to such a world-famous soccer player? Oh, soccer player.
Well, when he's away, I have to take charge of everything. I have to be pretty much the man in the family.
You mean you have to wear the trousers at that time?
Yeah, but when he comes home, I take them off.
Evel Knievel, one of the great daredevils of our time, knows no fear. Let's tune in on one of his telephone interviews, which was broadcast coast to coast, and hear his fearless comments.
I do not take seriously anything the Reclamation Department might have to say. I'm not interested in obtaining any kind of a permit from them, and if they want to stop me from jumping the Snake River Canyon, they can shoot me out of the air with an anti-aircraft gun or put my ass in jail. That's just the way it is. And that's all there is. Okay, you tell that asshole I said to kiss my ass. Now, do you really think, Evil, that some officials here are disputing the fact that they can dispute anything they want? They're chicken shit two-bit politicians, and I don't like any of them.
So, for those who think young, be sure you're stacked up with a Pepsi Sex Pack. Pepsi 60 Peps Pack.
The first step is a new meeting of European Common Market Foreign Ministers. Italy wants such a session in Venice starting on or about May 10th. European political unity.
Now, a Monitor Sports Special. Another report on the $100,000 All-Star Bowling Tournament. Here's Sam Levine at Convention Hall, Philadelphia. Well, I guess we're having a little problem down there with the storm or something. We can't get a hold of Sam Levine. Is he there now? Okay, Sam, go.
All in Philadelphia for Monitor Sports.
That's it. We are still going to try and get Sam Levine. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Fellas, are we going to try and get... Okay, all right. When I say go, the next voice you hear will be that of Sam Levine. Okay, Sam, go.
In Philadelphia for Monitor Sports. Since we...
Well, you can't win them all, friends.
Here's another classic example of a spoonerism which delighted audiences.
And the guests at the Saigon inauguration of President II shipped Sam Payne.
We're on the air, Mac. Hi, everybody. This is Dean Martin.
And Jerry Lewis.
We'd like to tell you all about our latest and funniest picture for Paramount.
Take my word for it. The Caddy is the most hilarious picture we've ever made. Come on and join the fun. See Paramount's The Caddy.
Yeah, The Caddy.
How was that, you shitheel?
Without reading it?
I'm with you.
Okay. Next. You still rolling?
All right, start.
You can cut that bit out.
I will.
Okay. This is Dean Martin.
And Jerry Lewis with a reminder to see our newest and funniest motion picture ever, The Caddy.
Oh, he's right, folks. Come on and join the fun in the most righteous 90 minutes of howls.
Righteous? That's riotous, you greaseball. Righteous. What is this, a religious picture?
This is religious, Martin.
And Jerry Lewis asking you to see our newest and funniest picture to date. No doubt about it, Dean. This is the funniest picture we've ever made. No kidding, folks. We're sensational. Take my word for it. Come on and join the fun. See Paramount's The Caddy. Yeah. It'll make you shit.
Cut out make.
You blew it. You blew it, you blew it, you blew it. You knew it the moment you blew it. How could you do it? You blew it, you blew it, you blew it.